Hey everybody, welcome to the State of the Game podcast. Before we get going, I have to congratulate you because you have clicked your way to podcast greatness. I'm going to be your host today, Dungeon Master Brandon Calloway, otherwise known as DMBC with UnlimitedRPG.com. My co-host is...
Wayne!
So happy to be here, aren't you, man?
Oh, it's just been one of those weeks, you know?
I know. There's been literally nothing that's happened in the game world, so today's podcast should be a little interesting. But before we get going, guys, I have to tickle your ears with the sweet sounds of social media plugging. Please check us out at Twitter and Instagram
Follow us.
What's that called? Subliminal messaging?
The sweet whispers.
Yes, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at UnlimitedRPG and always www.unlimitedrpg.com. But before we get going, there is a public service announcement that we have to play, so we'll be right back.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
And we're back! Well, we technically didn't go anywhere, but hey! Hi! Welcome to the State of the Game Podcast.
What is this, like teleportation?
Opening.
Super awkward.
Oh my
It's
God.
like we've never done this before.
Oh, well, we're 2 episodes in. Well, technically 4. Technically 4 episodes.
Well, this is only my second one.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is
And the mic keeps falling
your
down.
microphone. So we've invested hundreds of dollars on our wonderful podcasting setup here, but for some odd reason I can't afford a good microphone stand for Wayne over here.
I get the hand-me-downs.
Your microphone is incoming, sir. So anyway, we got a lot to cover.
Well, first of all, I got to say one thing since we talked about minis last week.
Yeah.
I spent so much money on minis this last
Holy
week.
crap.
We have them everywhere now.
Yeah. When we talked about the Monster Menageries minis, Wayne went out to our local game shop and had bought 2 bricks, which is 16 boxes of minis.
And mind you, I still got 2 more bricks to go before we get the Trent promo thing, but I don't tell my wife. I didn't want to dump it all in at the same time.
She's not listening to this.
I know, let's keep it that way. But anyway, now that we're not talking about that anymore.
No, I will say that on a side note, though, if you Dungeon Masters out there really want to do something extra cool for your game, what we did is, like I said, Wayne went out and he bought 2 bricks of minis, and we had each player open up 1 box, and it was really cool. And we had 1 box left over, so what we did as a consolation is for the first player that rolled a 1, they were allowed to open the extra box. Lo and behold, it was me.
Yeah, you were the one. You're like, oh, I rolled a 1. I was like, oh, you got to open the box. I was hoping the player did.
But anyway, yeah, we got a lot to cover, kinda. There's not a lot of big news that happened this week in gaming all across the board. I mean, we had some new releases, but none that were really super noteworthy. One that I'll throw at you a little later that I know you're just not fired up about at all.
I don't want to talk about it.
And then we have a special guest that's going to be joining us a little later on via Skype.
Secret.
Really, really cool to have him on the show. So we'll talk to him in a bit.
Don't look at those. Don't look at those notes.
We're not allowed to look at the show notes, so we just won't post them online, so you guys can't cheat.
Yeah, maybe I'll decide to do that, so you have to listen to it.
So anyway, man, let's dive right in. One of the games that has been near and dear to my heart, I talked about last week, Final Fantasy VII. We're not going to continue to talk about Final Fantasy VII.
Oh,
so
we can't
for
talk
those
about
of
the
you-
same thing every week and
Yeah.
week in and week out.
I wish we could talk about FF7 every week. I love that game. But just for you guys out there, Final Fantasy IX was released.
Yes, on PC.
Yes, so which is cool.
Yep.
I didn't personally think it was as good as 7, but that's...
There's some fans out there, though. Of course, every Final Fantasy, there's their hardcore fans for it.
Did they change anything, or is this
Apparently, they updated the graphics a little bit, some minor tweaks. Gave it like cloud saves and things like that.
Right.
Other than that, not really. I mean, it's got controller support on the PC, so just little quality of life things. We'll put it that way. Otherwise, it's fairly original, except for now it has widescreen support.
Well, that's
Imagine that when Final Fantasy IX was out, there's no such thing as widescreen.
Right. Well, I will say that not a lot in the world of tabletop RPGs happened that was super, super notable. But one of the things that I wanted to mention was just the fact of there is now an app coming up for the Pathfinder role-playing game. Trapdoor is creating a comprehensive Pathfinder RPG companion app. As a dungeon master, and I'm sure that a lot of other dungeon masters out there, they know and they will feel the pain of having to go through hours and hours and hours of game prep. Well, this application from Trapdoor helps dungeon masters do everything when it comes to the creation of games.
So is it like Fantasy Ground, or is it like the Dragon Plus app that WotC put out? WotC for the uninitiated is Wizards of the Coast, which is the parent company of D&D, Magic the Gathering, and some other stuff that we don't ever talk about.
I will say this. It's kind of... I'm not going to say it's not like Fantasy Grounds, but I'm not going to say it is. It's kind of like an in-between.
Indecisive much.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I don't need hate mail. So I will say it's kind of like it's a good marriage between the two.
So is it just supposed to be more of like a reference material, like all the books?
No.
It,
You can much like Fantasy Grounds. From what I'm seeing, you can make dungeons in this. You can house character sheets. You can go through modules and source material. I mean, it is a dungeon master's best friend, honestly. So check that out, guys. You can get it on the App Store. And maybe
any release date?
It's out.
Really? Like in beta or something like that?
I'm saying it's out. You know what? I got my trusty little computer here. Yeah, free download. So
on what platforms we got?
I've got iTunes for Mac, for PC, obviously. But that's all I'm showing right now.
Okay.
Is just for.
So it's a desktop application, not a mobile application.
Yes, and a lot of people that have downloaded it have also downloaded Sirenscape, which is what I use. GM3, GM5, DMDJ, which I've got nothing negative to say about any of those other programs. I've really got nothing to say bad about Playbook. I will just say that it is nice to have those extras there when you need them. So guys, check it out. Maybe I can make a couple phone calls, get one of those guys from Trapdoor on a podcast, and they can tell us all about it maybe next week.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
We'll shoot them an email. We'll see what we can do. But let's move on. One of the stories that was passed on to me this week has taken the MMORPG world by storm. It has been crazy. Blizzard has shut down World of Warcraft server.
Yeah, a private server.
Private server. Yeah, not the main server. That'd be crazy.
No.
I mean, the whole world would probably freeze over if that happened. But it has been crazy. Wayne, tell me about it.
Basically, there I guess there was is the correct terminology. This private server run by, what was it? Nostalgia or something, I think.
Nostalrius was the... Edit that out. I'm not editing crap.
Yes, you are. Basically, they had this private server that they ran in vanilla World of Warcraft. So no Burning Crusade, basically no expansions. All the patches up to the very end of the vanilla, as they like to call it, World of Warcraft.
1 through 60, no quest buffs, no nerfing of anything.
Nope.
You're not going to ride them out until you're level 40.
all the PvP the same way that it used to be. So basically, this server is the biggest, or was the biggest.
Yes.
It had 150,000 active members on it.
Why? Why shut it down?
This is one of those puzzling things that Blizzard does every once in a while, that when you're the small guy, they don't bother with you, right? But as soon as you get big at all, then they just, bam, here comes the hammer. So
This is what.
But sometimes it also alludes that they might be doing it as well. I've seen that happen in the past where they've thrown the hammer at people, but then end up like bringing them into the fold, or especially like with mods like StarCraft 2 and all that, or they end up doing something similar in that fact, especially since I know it was a few weeks ago, but where they updated Diablo 2 to work on modern machines. There was a patch that came out it was like a month ago.
Yeah.
So maybe they are planning, even though in the past they have said that they're not going to do old servers or, vanilla or things like that, but maybe they changed their stance.
Well, here's a quote from a Blizzard community manager back from 2011. It says, quote, "We realize that some of you feel that World of Warcraft was more fun in the past than it is today, and we also know that some of you would like nothing more than to go back and play the game as it was back then." End quote. And then it continues to say, quote, "The developers, however, prefer to see the game continuously evolve and progress, and as such, we have no plans to open classic realms or limited expansion content realms." End quote. Now, if you read, and nobody ever does this, if you read the end user agreement, when you install a patch or whatever, it says that there is nothing that supports anything prior to that expansion.
Yep.
So technically speaking, Blizzard, and I want no backlash from this because a lot of MMORPG players are very angry, outright angry about this. I want no backlash, but technically it's illegal.
Yeah.
It's not right. It is flat out illegal to host your own private server. Mm-hmm. So, I understand the big business reason, but man, to
And I think, I could be totally wrong, but I think this server probably got super popular when they did the Cataclysm expansion.
Yeah.
I would imagine, because then the base World of Warcraft went to 2.0 basically. Mm-hmm. Everybody got the huge free update. Deathwing destroyed everything, and everybody got that huge update. Because before, if you didn't buy the expansion, you just didn't get the content. You didn't get Outland. You didn't go, and you could kind of stay in your own little world back in vanilla still. Mm-hmm. But you had to deal with the patches and things like that. But other than PvP, they never really went back and changed a whole lot.
Yeah, which is crazy to think. Here's some actual statistics on this. It says the decision to close fan-run server Nostalrius, which had attracted 800,000 players during its year online, has prompted anger from parts of the online gaming community as far as 4chan all the way to Reddit, which really is not that far. But
but you are talking about an online game, so the online communities are going to be the biggest here.
Yeah.
They're not going to go into Times Square. Oh, let me get petitions to sign here to save World of Warcraft private server.
Put something up on change.org.
Yeah, like something like, let's get the White House on it.
Yeah. No, it's definitely something to take notice of, though. I will be honest. Where do you think World of Warcraft is going to go from here, though?
Honestly, I was a player I was fairly big up into about Cataclysm. I made it to there, and I stopped about halfway through Firelands. I did come back and dabble. In Warlords?
Yeah.
Which thus I also played a little bit of Mists of Pandaria. But their next one, Legion, which is probably is coming out in August. Not, I'm done with it. I think the MMO has kind of had its time in the sun. And
I think if they're going to remain to be popular, which I'm sure they will, they're going to really have to do some overhauling, and especially in today's gaming society. I just don't view them as ever capturing that magic that they had.
The genie in the bottle.
Yeah.
They still have, millions of subscribers. Even today, I think it's like 5 or 6 million they still got, which is still way more than any other MMO. That's the point, is they are still the biggest. It's just MMOs as a genre is getting smaller or more saturated, and it's not as popular
Yeah,
anymore,
I was the same. I came in right at the tail end of vanilla, right before they launched Burning Crusade. And then I stuck around all the way through Lich King.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't stick around very long, but I came back in Pandaria, at the end of Pandaria.
Okay.
In through Warlords, and I'll tell you, even though it was cool, it was more of a nostalgia factor for me. Yep. I had more fun flying around, looking at everything that had changed in Cataclysm than what I did actually playing the game. The whole hunt and grind thing, I couldn't. I couldn't get around it. Like, I'm sorry, if I have a hunt and gather quest and I go and I kill a raptor that obviously has claws, and I kill 40 flipping raptors and nothing has claws, there's a birth defect there.
I know. Some of it doesn't make total sense, but I think a lot of it has to do with your circles that you're in. Like for us, we were in that kind of college age when it came out.
Yeah.
So, we got all our friends to play it, and we're in these, kind of video games and circles and everything like that. And eventually we kind of started hitting our high 20s and the low 30s. And for me, it was just all my friends quit.
Yeah, and that was something too. Like,
me
I
and my
tried.
Wife, I was one of those. I got my wife to play. I know, right? But it eventually was just me and her, and then it's just it's not as fun anymore. All the raiding groups fell apart and everything like that. And it's just every time I came back, there's just nobody. It's just you have to find random groups, and I want friends to play with.
Well, to close that out, it looks like the team behind Nostalria has posted, quote, "We never saw our community as a threat for Blizzard. It sounds more like a transverse place where players can continue to enjoy the old-style World of Warcraft's games that are no longer available," which it is sad, but the world moves on. If Blizzard doesn't want that content to be out there and unaltered, then it's their license. I mean, if there's 100 other games out there you could play. I mean, EverQuest is still open.
And EverQuest 2. And is Ultima Online still open?
Yeah, it's still there.
Really? That one's still going?
It's
I figured
still
they closed
there
that one by now.
But, as any person or any huge game will tell you that's been around for that long time, you have to keep reinventing yourself. Even though the old stuff was great, you have to keep reinventing yourself in order to stay on top. And Blizzard obviously knows what they're doing. So,
but I think without a huge genre overhaul, the MMORPG is just going to slowly kind of die away, kind of like platform gaming did for a while.
Yeah.
And it's just going to go away, and then it's going to need to take that break before it can resurrect itself again.
Yep. Let's see. What else do we got to cover? Wayne, what do you got?
What are you pointing at me for? Like I can just come up with stuff.
Because it's fun to see you squirm.
Oh, I know. Well, I mean, a little topic. You got Red Dead 2. The map leaked.
Yeah.
And they're talking about that. Oh, look at the map leak.
Red Dead Redemption 2, which was a huge game from Rockstar that nobody thought was going to be any good, including me. I'm like, really?
I missed
Wild
it.
West?
Yeah.
Dude, it was amazing. I loved Red Dead Redemption, and it would still hold up today. So
Really?
if you've got a chance, go to your game shop, pick it up for like $10, play it. It's worth it. Worth it. It's too big for, which, this is what I don't understand. A lot of people tell me that it's too big for Steam.
Nothing's
How the
too big.
heck is that even possible? Because, GTA 5 came out on Steam.
Yeah.
So
Nothing is too big for Steam.
Yeah.
Steam is big.
yeah, I mean, but anyway, Red Dead Redemption 2 is on its way, and it is official. There's an article from CNET that's on here where the Red Dead Redemption 2 map was reportedly leaked and then verified by a Tech Radar source. They didn't say who it was at all. The image was originally posted on NeoGAF or JAF or whatever it is, NeoGAF by user Midian, who later removed it, but not before it was saved and reposted from the internet.
You can't delete nothing off the internet.
Ever. It's on there. Once you could post and delete it
Within
you know
second,
what?
you could literally post it, delete it. It's been saved. For
Yep.
somehow, some way, that second it'll be saved somewhere.
Ask the chick that starred in Hunger Games how quickly things get saved on the internet.
That is very true. Wow. Yeah.
Taking it a little dark here on the state of the game, but
Speaking of dark, I guess we can roll into everybody's waiting for the Dark Souls 3 review.
yeah, like a balsa wood boat, baby. We know it'll float, but will the trilogy hold any water? Apparently, Dark Souls 3 is out and it is a wonderful game. People are loving it, but
Yeah, okay.
Wayne, you have some very strong opinions on this.
This is, I mean, it could just be that it's just not my type of game, right? I don't feel like doing pattern recognition and dying all night long to enjoy my video game, because that's all you do, right? You go through, you collect up some loot, and you hit a boss or any other random thing. Basically, everything's a boss in this game. You have bosses and then you have super bosses, apparently.
Yeah.
Because the elites or the regulars will just kill you in like 1 or 2 hits anyways. So, and you just have to figure out all their patterns on fighting, and that's what they change every game. And once you figure them out, then you can beat them. Until then, you die, you go back to the campfire, you run back at it, try something different, die, and you just rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
But the problem is unlike a roguelite, where you get to continuously collect things up to empower yourself, no, you just start over again at your last checkpoint. And mind you, if you happen not to save for a little while, this is going to get real annoying real fast.
Right.
Same cutscenes over and over and over again, over and over and over again. I mean, if I wanted torture, I would just have Brandon waterboard me all night long.
You make sure you save.
Yeah, I know. And I'll probably get the hate mail for this, but it's, and people are gonna be like, no, it's like a roguelite, or it's just like the platformers where you have to figure out how to jump through them. But their levels were like a minute long. And, pressing the jump button, like you played Mario back in the day. Yeah, they had some hard levels, but you jumped and you knew what you were jumping over. There was
The pattern recognition in the old days was much easier to get through
Yeah.
than what it is nowadays. And I will tell you, I played Dark Souls 1 and I beat it. I played Dark Souls 2 and I didn't think the second one was nearly as hard as the first. I would tend to believe that trend is going to go the same way. Yeah. I have not yet played Dark Souls 3. I probably will at some point when it goes on sale. But I'm not going to go out and I'm not going to spend $60 on a game that's just a carbon copy of one that I've already previously played, I mean, I haven't read any reviews out there that have told me any different. And I've read them all. I've read GameSpot, I've read IGN, I've read Game Informer. I've read them all. I mean, and they're pretty much telling me the same. Sure, it's a good game, but it's kind of like Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2. Yeah. I mean, it's
more of the same. It's
right.
more of the same game. You get more of the same.
It kind of feels to me at this point in the genre that it's taking a Call of Duty-esque, Battlefield-esque, Madden-esque turn. It's like, oh, we're going to get one every year.
Yep.
And it's going to be the same flipping game with just a little bit different UI. I don't need that. I really don't. I really, truly don't. Dark Souls was cool because when Demon Souls came out, it was redonkulously hard. Yep. And it was kind of refreshing to see that a hard game had come out, even though it was pattern recognition. It was so unbelievably hard, and that was its niche. Even on the back of the box, you turned it over and you read it. It says on there, you're going to die.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why that was the whole thing with this game. But now that it's kind of
mainstreamed up a little bit.
Yeah, now it's kind of a been there, done that type deal. What are you going to do to keep my attention? Like, okay, you had me on the first 30, 40 hours of continually dying, and now that I beat it, I could share it on social media saying, hey, holy crap, I did this. And some of my buddies were like, you beat that? Holy crap. But then after the second one, it was just like, yeah. No, it's the third one, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to spend my money on it. Now, I hate to be the one that goes out there, and we're probably the only ones that are publicly on a podcast or in any kind of media trashing the genre like this. But I mean, let's just be real. I mean, if Wizards of the Coast or Paizo or anybody that if they came out with a crappy book, I'd be the first one to play test it and completely trash it. I'm not gonna, brush somebody's coat for them and say, "Oh yeah, great job." No. You're using millions of dollars to just snake some money out of people's wallets every year for no good reason.
It reminds me. This is probably the perfect other game series that it relates me to. Resident Evil.
Oh my God! And that was the thing. That's one of my favorite games of all time. The original.
Yeah.
And then when the second one come out, because I remember
still
being
really
young,
good.
Holy crap, man! I remember. Here's a quick trip down memory lane for you. I was over at my brother's house as a little kid, Stayed over there. Lights are off and everything, and I'm playing Resident Evil 2. One of my buddies was sleeping behind me. He woke up because something fell over just as the time a zombie came out, and I must have jumped 9.5 feet. Obviously an exaggeration, but I swore my head hit the ceiling. I jumped so high. So those jump scares were great back then, but now you got 3, and then 4, and then 0, and then 5, 6. Revelations or something like that. I mean, it's kind of over. I stopped buying them.
Yeah,
it's just kind of overdone. Have your
you
day
had
in the
1
sun.
and 2, and then 3 was kind of like
Yeah,
and then 4. I mean, what was it? And then they had all the kind of spinning off games. They did 0 and what else was there? Oh, I can't think of it. And then you had 4. I think is where they went to the over the shoulder look, right?
Yes. No.
What was that 5? I thought it was 4.
I think you're right. I think it is 4.
Yeah. And then 4, that's where they tried to reinvent themselves again.
Yeah.
So, they were great, really good, and then they slid and slid and slid.
When they went to a full over the shoulder, I thought, wow, that's pretty good.
That was pretty good. I like that one.
Because it reinvented itself. And then 5 hit, and I was like, all right. And then 6, and it killed it.
Yeah.
6 killed it for me.
So that's what Dark Souls feels to me. It's like, okay, the first one, which again, it's not my type of thing. I tried the first one, and I got like halfway through it and I quit. All right, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It was just not my type of game. But then you had 2, which is more of the same, and then 3, it's like, really?
Even if they were to take it like in a Resident Evil,
you have those little spin-offs like Demon Souls, and what was the other one? I think Bloodborne.
I think it was
Dreadborn, something like that. Something born, basically. And so these little clones of Dark Souls, right? And how many clone-y type Resident Evil games did we get?
Well, that's like the Bayonetta Devil May Cry
Yeah.
scenario. It's the same game with a heroine instead of a hero.
Yeah.
But I mean, look at us. We're hardcore gamers, and I mean tabletop gamers. But we're playing Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, which is
Mind you, we skipped 4.
Everybody skipped 4.
Exactly. We just don't talk about 4.
Let's just be honest. Everybody skipped 4.
So, and I mean, I understand.
Hell, I skipped 4 and went to Pathfinder.
Yeah,
until 5 came out.
That's kind of what everybody did. So,
but I mean, in that aspect, and talking about reinventing yourself, Dungeons and Dragons, when it was in its vanilla phase, they didn't reinvent the wheel. They added more things on, and it started to become not the yearly, but kind of the every other year, just new books.
Yeah.
So at 4, they tried to
had
completely
the mentality of the more books, more money.
Yeah.
More books, more money.
They tried to completely reinvent themselves by making it easier and introducing, I'm just going to call them flashcards, for lack of a better term, or for lack of the actual term, flashcards, because let's be real, that's what they were, and some different play test rules, and they fell flat. So to play devil's advocate on the reinventing yourself, sometimes it's not so good. Why reinvent the wheel if the darn thing already rolls? You know what I mean? So I understand people and game makers why they do it. It's just, it would be a breath of fresh air to see them attempt to do it, kind of like WotC did. Which WotC is kind of a derogatory term for that. So, which is what Wizards of the Coast tried to do. They tried to reinvent themselves at great risk. I mean, it almost bankrupt the company from what I hear. I don't know the real story on it, but they sure as heck turned around and came back with D&D Next,
or 5,
which then turned into 5.
Yeah.
So
Next was the beta test version.
Yeah.
So, but I know game makers, they want to make that money every year, and you'll probably when Call of Duty comes out, you hear me go on the rant again, because this is the guy that does not like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Every year, another Call of Duty. It's the same thing all over again. But hopefully, for you people that love Dark Souls, this does not turn into that. Hopefully maybe the next one will reinvent itself, or maybe they'll just completely stop and go with something else. Hopefully they don't pull a Halo and do Halo 5.
Right.
They should have just left it at 4.
Speaking of which, what you just said with basically working and game developers and things like that. There was an article that was posted on Kotaku recently where a guy by the name of Alex St. John published I'm going to read this straight from the article. It says, this weekend on VentureBeat, game industry veteran Alex St. John published a hot new contender for worst article of the decade. Now, there's a distinction.
Ooh.
Arguing that today's game developers should stop whining about nonsensical ideas like, fair wages. That is a holy crap line if I've ever seen one.
What?
Like, as far as a state of the game, like a literal state of the game,
yeah.
You are an industry insider that works on games, and you're telling game developers to stop complaining about fair wages. Dude, what are you doing, man? You guys got to check out the article. You can check it out at Kotaku.com. I personally don't want to get into the red tape discussion of fair wages and everything. I want to keep it fun on a State of the Game podcast. Yeah. So, but it is, I mean, wow. I mean, this guy.
Talk about putting your foot all the way in your mouth.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Like
talking about putting your foot
deep,
all the way down into your stomach.
Down. Yeah.
I mean, go check this out, guys. You will be instantly upset with what this guy had to say. So Kotaku.com/game industry veteran writes horrifying article, and you'll get it, and it'll pop up, or just Google it. Douche nozzle insults game insiders. So I'm sure you'll find it somewhere on there. But anyway. We've got a special guest coming on the podcast with us, and it's going to be a secret until after we come back. So we're going to take a quick break. That was kind of all the news, and we kind of had to struggle through it this week because we kind of dug like, what are some real RPG news for us?
Well, I mean,
can we have
technically
some fun?
Dark Souls is an RPG. It's got RPG elements in it. Too bad, unfortunately, one of us just hates it.
We had to take a gigantic dump on it. But I tell you what, for you guys that are out there listening, if you agree with us, if you disagree, hit us up on social media. You can get us on.
Why.
Yeah, tell us why. You can get us on Twitter. You can get us at Instagram at Unlimited RPG. We'll be on Facebook soon with a little page for you guys to join us there. But we're sticking with the Twitters and the Instagrams first, just because
we like it better.
We like it. So anyway, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with our special guest via Skype.
Don't forget to subscribe.
And we're back right here in the middle of the State of the Game podcast. And our special guest tonight is my literal brother from another mother, Norman Calloway. I'll tell you guys a little bit about him real quick. He is an extremely notable person when it comes to the horror genre. He plays a character called the Butcher in several haunts, as far as I know of. Where he'll be able to tell us a little bit about that. In another life, he is a former Hall of Fame professional independent wrestler. In the Nosebleed Seats Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. You guys can check him out online or try to find him on the internet. He's all over the place on YouTube. He is a big mother. So if we had an audience here, I would have you guys give it up for him. Maybe I'll edit in some applause. But Norm, it is great to have you on the State of the Game podcast. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Listen, I wanted to bring you on basically because of your horror background. Horror is booming today in games, in movies, in TV, in RPGs, in tabletop RPGs. It's going crazy. We were just talking about Dark Souls 3, a video game in the horror genre that just came out. I know you're a huge fan of the Ravenloft campaign setting, which we just bought the new Wizards of the Coast Ravenloft setting, which I'm going to be running soon. Give me your thoughts, man. How do you think that horror has gotten to where it is in today's society?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I think zombies really has done a lot for the horror genre. I mean, The Walking Dead came out, and there's been zombies this and zombie that, zombie paintball. I mean, you could make a fortune off of zombie anything if you were on the bandwagon when this all started.
As a kid working in haunted houses and things like that along with you actually brought me in on that. And then were able to make a character that you have dubbed The Butcher, and we together were going to film an independent movie, which unfortunately failed. The screenplay was great, and we may be able to get some funding. I don't know, maybe start up a Patreon or a Kickstarter for it, and do it again under the Unlimited RPG brand. But who knows? We'll see what happens. But as your time playing The Butcher, have you seen a kick up with his popularity? If so, why?
Oh, my popularity just continues to grow with every year, and the sad thing is I'm about to retire.
Really? Why?
Because I'm getting old.
You're only 40.
I'm serious.
I
know, man, but I've been doing it for 23 years. I mean, not The Butcher. The Butcher I've been doing roughly, I think, 10. And I'm tired.
Have you ever thought about maybe having The Butcher put into a role-playing game?
It would be awesome.
I know, right? I think that's what we should do. Let's sit down. Let's come up with a template for him. Let's make him up. Let's send him off. Let's see if we can get him to be in a published book somewhere.
That would be sweet. That would be great.
Maybe it would be as hard as making the independent film.
Yeah, right. I mean, The Butcher is a very interesting character in his own. He's just a really large, bloody, soft. He doesn't speak. Silent maniac that breathes, gets right in your face, and caresses you with his real meat cleaver until you start to shiver. I mean, it's worked.
Right.
It's worked for a decade.
Oh, I've seen it, and there's a lot of clips of that kind of thing online of you doing your thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've got the intimidation down to a fine art. I mean, I just know what to do. It's not a jump scare. It's a complete, I break you down, and even I've turned the biggest men into pansies. I mean, it's awesome.
Which really comes out in your role play, honestly. It's great to sit across the table from you and actually have that challenge. And as the other players see you get into that mode, which we were talking about that offline, just via Facebook Messenger, and it's really, really cool to see the dichotomy of how the game shifts whenever you get in the zone, because you can definitely tell that you've got that experience behind you, which actually brings me to one of the next questions that I had for you. What are your thoughts when it comes to the role playability of people when it comes to the fantasy genre versus the survival horror genre like Ravenloft?
Oh, I think the survival horror genre is way better than the fantasy. I mean, I've played both. I've done both. I've had like human barbarians in a fantasy role, and then I had my swashbuckler in the survival horror. And what was great about the survival horror is you can role play the fear, and the fear is what really makes the survival horror game.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I've seen.
Oh yeah.
I've seen, especially when you start to get the music going, and
Yep.
I mean, you don't need to use weird lighting and all that other stuff. Just the music and the good role play, man, it really breaks it down. I mean, I've seen the same thing in the fantasy genre, but I would tend to agree with you on the fact that the fear of players when they're in the zone seems more guttural than a fantasy setting.
Yeah, I mean, it still sticks in my mind. One of the best role-playing moments we had was at Stagecoach. I mean, we sat in a stagecoach for an entire session.
Yeah, 7 hours.
Yeah,
in a
and role-played fear and anticipation and intimidation.
Mm-hmm.
It was great.
And a lot of folks out there that run full games with 6 to 8 players would think, oh well, that's not too bad, because 6 to 8 players, you've got, that's a pretty good time to go by fairly quickly with that many people. However, we only had 3 that night. We had you, whose your character's name was Sam Crow. We had another one. We had a paladin by the name of Rundar Asher Siliqui, and we had I want to say she was a sorceress, Amru Lara Galandriel or something like that.
I don't think she was in it. I think it was the barbarian. I think it was Matt's character.
No, you're right. Because he was the one that destroyed Strahd von Zarovich's paintings.
Right. And what was great about that is you're not only are you've got these characters, but you've got these characters that have played and are not they're
Not
not
novice, not novice
yeah,
at
we're
all.
not novice players at all. And we were even able to kick back and have a night of scares instead of, all right, well, I'm just going to go outside and slay the vampire.
Right.
No, we let your story influence us, and it was great.
Right. Letting a story influence a game and not the need to just slaughter something is really the defining point of good role players versus people that just want to roll dice, which is fine on either aspect. Myself, I'm a dungeon master that likes to tell a story and really likes to have an engaging night of storytelling. Which I think that's the kind of player you are as well. Would you recommend a survival horror setting to someone that just wants to run out there and just kill a slew of monsters, or would you tend to recommend those players to stay with like a fantasy setting with goblins and kobolds?
It's going to depend on the person, really. I mean, what they're into. Gothic horror and fantasy horror and survival horror. I mean, they're all kind of go hand in hand with the concept of you got to throw the dice and pray to God you hit the monster, and then pray to God the monster dies and the monster doesn't hit you back, and and stuff like that. But if you don't really know what you're doing, I really think survival horror is more of a advanced type of gameplay.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think
It's
not
not
to say that I don't think a novice could enjoy it. I just think it takes an extra panache for a role player to be able to get into that mindset.
Oh, absolutely. You really need a good role-playing group to really enjoy a survival horror setting. Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
So what would you say would be, aside from the Stagecoach, and you've been playing, Dungeons and Dragons and other role-playing games for 25
On and
plus
off
years.
since I was 18, yeah.
Yeah, a long, long time. I know I've been playing since I was, well, I think my very first game was 6 or 7, and then I stopped for a while and then got back into it with you, and you brought me back into Advanced Dungeons and Dragons in the second iteration of the game. So it's been a while, but in all of that time, what would you say has been your number one most memorable moment in all of that time?
My most memorable moment?
Yeah.
Oh, man, there's so many to choose from. Escaping the Black Tower was quite memorable. The siege on the ship, the riverboat, was quite memorable. There's just been so many, but I'm going to be honest, my most memorable moments have always happened in a survival horror game.
Yeah. Well, and I know most of your memorable moments have happened under me as your dungeon master. So
As a dungeon master, I've had some very memorable moments.
I will say this. What do you believe, as a follow-up question to that, what do you think would be your top 3 horror-type video games, or even regular games? It could be RPGs, tabletop RPGs. It could be video games. Hell, we could even go movies. Top 3 most influential horror properties.
All right, we're going to go with The Walking Dead. I think that's huge. We're going to go also with Ravenloft and Resident Evil. I think Resident Evil really set the bar for survival horror.
We actually were just talking to that previously, right before we had this Skype call, and Wayne had actually brought up Resident Evil as we were talking about video game franchises getting a little stale and stagnant, and then not wanting to reinvent themselves, or after they reinvent themselves, being afraid to reinvent themselves a second time. What do you think about Resident Evil, about where it used to be versus where it is now?
Well, I don't like it where it is now.
Awesome.
I think that where they are, when they were in the house and then the city, like in Resident Evil 2, I think that was great. But I think from like 2 on, it got kind of weird. I mean, they got more mutated, and it really got out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think some of the gameplay was cool, like in, what was it, 4, where you had to save the president's daughter or something like that, and all these villagers are nuts, and you don't really know why.
Sure. And that was
the
the first iteration of the over-the-shoulder camera.
Yep, which was cool. I did enjoy the over the shoulder camera. I would have really enjoyed the over the shoulder camera in the first Resident Evil 1 and the Resident Evil 2. That would have been amazing. But then you've got the tyrant that chases you down in 3 all the time. You never know when the hell he's going to show up and scares the crap out of you.
It's very Butcher-esque as he comes bashing through a wall.
He just comes walking in out of nowhere, and you don't expect it. But Resident Evil really set the bar for me. I mean, when I played the very first Resident Evil, you kill all the zombies and you just keep progressing in the game, and the next thing you know, all the zombies have now been replaced by hunters who can at any given time just leap through the air and take off your head regardless how much health you have. I mean, that kind of crap was just not right. It says, you died.
That was the introduction of the pattern recognition, like me and Wayne were just talking about with the whole Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 and 3, and you're just playing the game just to die, really.
Yeah. If you didn't save your bullets, if you actually wasted all your bullets on the zombies, not knowing, what was coming up in the second stage, in the second phase of the game, then you're screwed.
Right.
Because you need those bullets to kill the hunters. If you don't have the bullets to kill the hunters, you're screwed.
So do you think that gaming as a whole would be where it is today without the advent of the survival horror genre?
I think I don't really know. Back when we were kids, we played Final Fantasy 2, and it was the concept of, it's a story, it's an adventure. You got to kill different kinds of monsters all the time, all the way to the very end. You never know what it is you're gonna have to kill. But there was nothing scary about it,
Right.
It's like your little group he was walking through the woods, and bam, next thing you know, you're fighting four ogres. Big deal. Right? You lose or you win. If you were to switch that around to a Resident Evil thing, you're walking through the woods, and all of a sudden, trees come ripped up out of the ground and get swung at you, and you're fighting four ogres. You weren't expecting it, and it scared the crap out of you.
Well, I will say this about survival horror. Last week on the State of the Game, we were talking about the advent of virtual reality with the new Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive, which is basically, and you've probably seen this, all over Facebook, they have these, and social media, they have these 360 cameras. Well, now, the next iteration of that is basically a headset you attach to your computer, and it is literally virtual reality in your living room. The HTC Vive basically needs a 5x5 foot square to where you can stand up and play these games directly in your living room. What do you feel is next for survival horror with that in mind? Do you think that people should use caution when playing these kinds of games on a virtual reality headset?
You think? I think that's insane.
Like, we made the analogy last week of, what about the older generation, putting this thing on grandma and pushing her out of a plane. She's 140 years old. She's not going to be able to take it,
No.
But what happens if, you put this headset on grandma and now she's in the world of The Walking Dead?
Literally.
So I think,
that's crazy.
With the advent of where games are going, can you see the survival horror genre getting better, or can you see it falling off and getting worse?
Well, I think it's going to get better, and this is why. I don't know if you're paying attention to Facebook that much, but there's a game out there right now called Friday the 13th, and they're basically trying to do a role-playing game, an how do you say that, MMORPG?
Yes.
Is that how it is?
Yes.
Yeah, they're trying to do that with Jason, and I just watched the Kickstarter, and they were looking for, $300,000 to start it, and they got their goal like 4 days in advance.
Yeah, I've been following it quite a bit. They're doing a lot of next level programming, a lot of mocap stuff. It looks to be really cool. I'm not going to comment on it yet here on the State of the Game. I'm going to do a little bit more homework on it and probably bring it up. Going to make some phone calls, see if maybe we can get one of them on the show. But I think it'd be really cool to see something like that, not necessarily on the PS4 or console, even PC. I really think that would be great for the Oculus Rift, because then it really puts you in the game. It
Oh,
puts
yeah.
you in as if you're being followed by Jason, which would be just next level for a lot of people, especially people in our age group who grew up watching Friday the 13th.
Yes. Oh,
So,
yeah. That could be very creepy.
yeah, yeah. I think that would be amazing to to say the least. But we were just talking, since you brought up MMORPGs, we were just talking about there was a private server on World of Warcraft that was recently shut down by Blizzard, Nostalrius, who had over 150,000 unique users. However, it was a private server only in the vanilla World of Warcraft. Do you think it's wrong that Blizzard shut that down, or are you in the camp like I am that technically it's kind of illegal because in your end user license agreement, you're not supposed to be having private servers like that?
Well, there's private servers that are allowed. I don't necessarily think that they should have shut it down, because there are a lot of old gamers like me that were in the vanilla genre of World of Warcraft and kind of missed that stuff, because WoW then versus WoW now is basically like what we're talking about with what this topic is. It was a whole nother world. I remember when you introduced me to this game, and you're like, well, it's going to take you forever to get a gold coin. And you weren't lying.
Yeah.
You weren't lying. I mean,
Now
when I
it's
got
just
my
like
first
an hour
gold
in
coin,
and
I was like, wow.
people are amassing gold within an hour. I mean, it is
Yeah.
kind of sad, really.
Have you seen the new Iron Man challenge for WoW coming out here soon?
I have not.
Yeah, that is, you take a class, you take a character, you create a character, you pick your class, and you are not allowed to pick up anything higher than uncommon. No, I'm sorry, common. You can't even have green. You have to use white gear and level all the way to 90 or 100. What level how high you go now? 100?
I think it's 100.
Yeah, you got to level all the way to 100 with white items.
I don't even see that being possible unless you're being power leveled.
Yeah, you got to do it by yourself. There's no power leveling. There's no I don't think dungeons would work. You get destroyed.
Right.
And you can't use any tabards or anything that give you any kind of buffs. No buffs are allowed. And what was the other thing that he told me? You can only use the skills that you start with.
Has Blizzard published this challenge, or was this
Yes.
a rumor? Or, wow.
No, it's published. It's called the Iron Man Challenge.
We'll have to look that up. And
Yeah.
I didn't see that, so we'll have to find it, and I'll put Wayne on it. He likes to look at that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Papa actually sent that to me. I've got it in my in a Facebook Messenger from him. He sent it to me a week ago, so it'd take me a while to scroll up and find it. But holy crap! When I read that, I was like, yeah, I'm not interested.
Yeah, if you can find the article on it, send it over to me. We'll throw it up on the website, and we'll see what people think, and maybe get a conversation going. But anyway, man, that's pretty much going to do it for us here on State of the Game. If people have some questions for you about the Butcher and your character, or your World of Warcraft exploits, I know you played for an extraordinarily long amount of time, but most notably, I would feel that people may want to get a hold of you to talk to you about your Butcher days, or your experience in doing haunts and haunted houses and things like that. How can people get a hold of you? Do you have a Facebook or an email address that maybe somebody can get a hold of you at?
Yeah, you can just give my Facebook address, brother. It's fine.
Okay, no problem, man. We'll put that here on the end of the State of the Game. Norm, it was a great time having you on the State of the Game. Any closing comments?
Just I really appreciate you wanting to put me on your podcast. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And that was our interview from, like I said, my literal brother from another mother, my stepbrother, Norman Calloway. If you guys want to get a hold of him, you can do so on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Norman.Calloway, CALLAWAY.9.
9, yep.
So, yeah, if you want to get on there, you can send him a message. You can bother him all you want. He is the foremost expert that I know when it comes to working in haunted houses, pretty much a lot of stuff when it comes to the paranormal. He's a great character in a lot of different haunts in the area. I don't want to plug really any of them because they haven't paid for ad revenue. So You know how it works. Money is the root of me
All
buying
evil?
groceries. That's not evil. It helps keeps my lights
Since
on.
we're on the horror talk, in what are we in April?
Yeah, right.
We're a little early this year,
It's
but
never too early for a haunted house.
well, that could be debated.
Well, yeah. In several circles, I am right. In several circles, I am
Wrong.
flipping wrong. So, anyway, yeah, that's his contact information. Big thank you going out there to him for coming onto the show, and that's really it, man. That's all we've got today for the state of the game.
Unless you want to hear us ramble on for another hour about nonsense,
Which
you could let us
totally
know
do.
about at myrpgaming@gmail.com.
Yes, that is our email, and our website is
which is every website, unlimitedrpg.com.
and our social media tags are
Well, we have Twitter, which is at unlimitedrpg. Instagram, same thing. So easy to find us there. And currently boycotting Facebook. So check future podcast episodes to see when we're finally on there.
not really boycotting. Mark Zuckerberg, do not sue the State of the Game podcast. The State of the Game podcast is brought to you exclusively by Unlimited RPG. If you haven't visited www.unlimitedrpg.com, you're wrong.